On December 20th, 1983, Thomas Sankara inaugurated the first National Week of Culture, an event designed to highlight the diverse cultures and beliefs of Burkina Faso and unite its people. This tradition continued until 2006, but was halted due to political instability. Now, under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina is experiencing improved security, clearer youth engagement projects, and a resurgence of the National Week of Culture that began 4 decades ago. Despite ongoing threats of terrorism and negative press about the transition, Ibrahim Traoré conducted a 1-hour interview to promote this week and reassure his people about the mission's progress. In this translated interview, Traoré discusses culture, counter-terrorism, international press, and Burkina's military reorganization. This video focuses on the first 20 minutes of the hour-long interview. If you're interested in the rest, please comment below.
Good evening and thank you. Of course, we are very happy to be here once again for this major event, which is very important to us. As you have pointed out, culture is the soul of the people. So it is our soul. And I think that by creating the National Culture Week in '83, President Sankara was far ahead of his time. Today, we are very happy to give a prominent place to culture in our actions. Because as you may have noticed, when some seek to colonize people, the first thing they do is to do everything to make them abandon their culture. And so today we are restoring an important place for culture, so that our people can live. For us, culture is everything that makes us Burkinabe. Indeed, as you pointed out, the security crisis meant that the conference could not take place. Last year, we rose to the challenges, which allowed certain sectors, including hospitality, to welcome people. And we continue in this vein. This is a sector that has been greatly weakened by this security crisis. But we have many prospects to be able to revive the hotel industry and especially tourism. I think that if you follow the decisions we make in the Council of Ministers, you will understand what we are doing. First of all, it was about reorganizing the tourism and culture sector. The ministry has worked well throughout this time. We have been able to adopt all the necessary texts for the reorganization. And now, they are launching activities through several days that should allow the Burkinabe to visit certain sites, thus participating in the life of the hotels that will welcome them. As I said, it's a very important place. You know, when we take the value of social cohesion, we like to repeat this word. But it's through culture that we can cultivate this social cohesion. Today, artists will come from everywhere, from the far south to the Sahel, from east to west. They will meet, they will commune, and it will be the opportunity for most to see how others live, what their values are, and so on, and share. Second thing, we have a lot of values, such as I quoted, solidarity, patriotism, it's found in culture. There are many objectives behind this. First, as we said, we need to go back to the roots because, as some would say, we did not fall from the sky. There are many religious denominations in Burkina Faso. There are those who are Christian denominations, whether Catholics or Protestants. There are also people in the Muslim confession. But there are also those who have the ancestral confession. So there are no atheists in Burkina Faso. That, I do not think. Everyone believes in God through something. So it's also an opportunity to give traditionalists the chance to celebrate, express, be in direct contact with the ancestors, and therefore pray for Burkina Faso. So there are many objectives behind this. We cannot finish listing them all here anyway, but we think it's a very good thing that should allow Burkinabe to know their traditions, to know their cultures, and to cultivate good values. There is no particular symbolism. We have culturally rights in all ethnic groups. You will see that in the village before the start of the season, people generally have rights to pray to God and the ancestors to help us have a good rainy season. At the end of the season, there are also rights to thank God and the ancestors for giving us a good rainy season, for allowing us to cultivate and harvest well. We therefore proposed this date to the traditionalists, who thought about it and who unanimously agreed on the date of May 15th, which also marks the beginning of the season. Somewhere it is part of the goals. There are several goals. It is in part because I think all other denominations have dedicated days. Among Catholics, there are several holidays, as well as among Muslims. So it's a date for us to learn, for people to commune and have a date to celebrate as well. This is part of the goals. So as I said, it's about us providing a space, taking a day, so that the Burkinabe can return to the fundamentals, pray to the ancestors, pray to God through the ancestors, so that together we can have this harmony that we are seeking. This is the most important thing, because the division, the distinction through these days, I think it can help our people get closer. That's it. That's the goal. To make it possible for people to really commune. Yes, it's true, there are many paid holidays in Burkina. This is a topic that is under discussion at the council, so it's a discussion, and we will soon propose a formula to reduce the number of paid holidays, and so that we can catch up in one way or another. I don't want to jump the gun. The proposal will be made at the council level, the Burkinabe will discover, and we will decide. Of course, it's very important. It's very important. You see, there are some societies that have developed based on culture, because there is a lot of wealth in culture. Look at China, Japan. These are examples. It's based on their heritage culture that they managed to do it. Today, many people don't even know what our own culture is. Personally, I discovered a lot of things with the minister in front of the Council of Ministers when we were preparing for that day. So, I discovered a lot of things that I did not know. And it's always good to discover what we had. We did not come from nothing. All we can do now is learn our own culture. I remember when I visited the forges before, we may have had, and it still exists in some parts of the world, where through culture, people can extract ore, bring the tool, extract, make steel to manufacture all the agricultural tools and everything. But it's the development of the steel industry like that. We have to base ourselves on the knowledge of our elders, our ancestors, and develop our steel industry. Yes, the equipment. We will continue to equip ourselves. As I was telling you, we're not even at 15% of what we want. In this month of May, you will see a lot of things that will be there, and it will continue. Because knowing where we come from, we understand that we come from far away. Thus, we must prepare so that future generations do not experience these situations. I had to mention this on February 17th, if I'm not mistaken. People may now understand how imperialism prepared our armies to send terrorism now, destabilizing our states for better exploitation. Let me give you an example. I spoke in the year 2020 about how if you are looking for soldiers who were on an operation in 2019, nearby the area of Pensa and its surroundings, during this time, we were deploying soldiers in regiments of 300 to 350, with 100 rifles, maybe a dozen or 20 bulletproof vests. Due to the lack of equipment, when our small forces of 200 soldiers is attacked, our men have to run. The military themselves came up with a nickname for the terrorists. They were called the Mono, that is the monitors. It's like at school, the monitors came to wake you up at 5 a.m. to make you run. So, when they came to attack at 5 o'clock, it was a race. When your men lose confidence like that, it is not obvious how to make them regain a sense of pride. So the lack of equipment made the army lose their face. You can see videos that the terrorists enjoyed filming of our soldiers running. They often used it to galvanize their fighters, help recruiting and morale. Today, we want to equip the army so that every soldier regains confidence in himself. When he goes out, he must have confidence. Already with the minimum that we have, you can see the exploit they are doing. They are not afraid to go towards the enemies. That means the soldiers are ready to win the war. So we will continue to provide efforts to better equip ourselves and face our challenges. You've noticed that we are making a lot of mistakes. What we are seeing is not what we imagined. Today, this must be acknowledged. There are many enemies that come from abroad to fight in Burkina, in the ranks of the terrorists, the so-called mercenaries from abroad. We must start recruiting accordingly to be able to cover and secure our entire territory. The first phase was the establishment of these organic fighting units in the hardest regions of the country. We formed rapid intervention battalions to respond to and contain local threats. Because when we made our initial assessment, we realized this kind of force was needed to contain the threat over there. I'm glad to say thank God, because we have now achieved victories beyond what we imagined. We were able to form this rapid intervention battalion ourselves, fully equipping them thanks to the work of our people. This is the first phase. The other phases will follow, because the things we work on in the field are a priority. In due time, the forces will soon be relocated. These relocated forces will, therefore, be able to respond to the current situation. The reorganization will continue. Other types of units will be created as part of the AES. There are forces that will be established to meet everyone's needs. Yes, we want to do more reforms, one might say. We are focused on reorganization. As I said before, terrorism will be defeated. These criminals who ride around on motorcycles will be stopped. They will be defeated. But we must prepare for other types of war, and threats of it are everywhere, whether they're internal or threats that can come from afar. In this context, it's a conventional war that can last a while. So, we need to prepare for a high-intensity war. We will have to fight over time and hold our ground. For a very long time, this was our mode of combat. We need to prepare for this. In the army, we have different corps, and we will intensify the training program and start these specific trainings. Yes, it's terrorism, as you say. After the fight, people realize that there are many foreigners in the enemy's ranks currently in Burkina. This is the heart of the enemy. We are looking to crush that heart, and this will scare the other ranks of our enemy. We need to give our maximum. That's why we prepare accordingly. It's not that it's a new phenomenon. We expect this, and we expect worse than this. But for now, I think we can't be everywhere at once. As you've noticed, we don't communicate a lot about certain things. The work is done zone by zone. There are areas where we have put a lot of effort that are almost 100% conquered. There are also areas where we are redoubling our efforts. It's little by little. We are going to reconquer all the portion of the ground. In doing so, we will not just conquer, but also learn how to consolidate. We have really acquired a lot of means, that's one thing. In terms of the air vectors, we have managed to train most of the pilots already. We were able to anticipate their training before acquiring any of the new air equipment. We usually acquire first and have to train afterwards. There is usually downtime between the two. However, with the current air vectors, we have the opportunity to have pilots ready. They are active, but you may ask, why are there still frequent attacks? It must be acknowledged that there are some positions where the leaders of our army are not always serious. We are not focused. As I was saying, there is something in the air that makes some leaders of our army unconcerned. We will be able to develop them thoroughly and in depth. These are critical moments. Some have shown fragility, and the enemy has observed this and struck a potentially hard blow. On April 23rd, a major operation had just ended in another area where good work is being done. And it's during this phase that others lost their focus. It is not because there are drones in the air that you have to sleep. What we want is to be alerted. Because currently there are constantly drones in the sky. We simply want to be able to say, we see them coming. And many managed to do so. You followed the situation in the other city. It was the observers who saw the enemy coming and alerted the drone that came to participate in the fight. You followed and surely noticed that many positions managed to do so. Unfortunately, at certain positions, when you hear that they are being attacked, we are already under enemy fire. It is not because there are drones that we no longer put watchmen, that we do not take all these precautions. These are things that need to be corrected, and we are on it. These are things that tarnish the fight, but need to be corrected. People should not let their guard down. It's not over. You must stay focused. Of course, there is significant internal complicity. I was referring to the cases that have been neutralized, those who came from abroad and attempted to escape. It's important to understand that they passed through the airport with someone's complicity, as someone provided them with all the necessary information. The investigations only started yesterday. We're going to find these individuals, as we know that they passed through with the complicity of insiders. There are also villages that are complicit, but they are beginning to understand little by little. In the army, there is complicity, information leaks, and other issues. Our objective is to make it more difficult for the enemy to be informed. Even in our cities, there are locals who inform terrorists about all movements and everything that happens. We are very aware of this complicity. But that's logical, and it will be permanent, as we say. We have decided to take responsibility for engaging in a fight. It goes without saying that some who have lost their privileges and benefits are standing against us. Now it's up to us to be vigilant. That's what we are doing. This struggle is against destabilization, but we're on it. It will be persistent. That we are sure of. Oh yes, but that's logical. These international presses are fighting for their country, and it's normal. The TV channels we closed here, everything they divulge as information is for the interests of their country. But what bothers us the most is that often the local press relays this false information. That's what's dangerous. Does that mean they don't have the intelligence to understand that everything the outsiders publish is for the interest of their countries outside of the continent? The fact that we start doing it here too, that's not good. The FDS is gaining momentum. There are many victories to celebrate today. We are not sitting around waiting for them to attack us. We are on the offensive, such as the weapons we are acquiring, and all these equipments are disliked by the enemies. This is because we are going to succeed in defeating terrorism. Yet they created this so that our states cannot be real, effective states and continue to exploit us and take our resources. That's the problem. But if you have an army, they can't afford certain old habits. We have to understand that it's normal for their press to demonize us and invent lies. They say whatever they want with internal complicity. Unfortunately, there are individuals here who, for 2,000 to 3,000 euro, are ready to write anything. They send their writings abroad, and in the process, they sell their homeland. These are also the people we fight because they are enemies of the nation, and it's dangerous. What is the added value? What is your participation in this struggle? They are really fighting for the interests of the countries over there. Why are you also going to follow them, even if they finance you or I don't know what? It's not logical.
I must conclude here. As evident, the initial steps after securing most of the country appear to be directed towards culture and unification. President Traoré is clearly focused on the territories still under the threat of terrorism. He expressed his disappointment with the front lines, where drones are insufficient in slowing down the enemy. He also urged people to critically evaluate the media's portrayal of their struggle. These peaceful objectives of the AES may not receive mainstream attention, so I've taken the initiative to translate this information for a broader audience. We have more videos on the way this month. Thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.